Hello again and welcome back to Yosemite Valley, to the episode with the potentially worst thumb I ever did. So today we are getting into the wonderful first exhibit of our night house, or the nocturnal house. And I do have to talk about a few things, but you can expect in this video like 10 minutes of time lapse, and afterwards we are getting into a really short real-time overview where I'm going to show you the first exhibit, which is for the Chinese pangolin. And yeah, just stick with me. But first of all, you gotta help me out a lot. You guys need to comment the hell out of it in this episode, because the thumb will be so bad, because it's a night house. And for the people who don't know, YouTube and the algorithm works not only with how well you tagged stuff and how things work. And if you're not interested in that, just stop listening for the moment, but I find this very interesting. The algorithm also takes into consideration how likely your thumbnail is, and they do measure this by analyzing the copy on it and the amount of bright spaces and how clear the thumbnail is and stuff like that. So with a dark thumbnail, if it's not really related to what you do, and by related to what I do, I mean like if you're talking about the meaning of the color black, it's kind of important to have black in your thumbnail anyways. But if it's not about that, or let's say nighttime photography, all this kind of stuff where you really would expect something dark and you would be triggered because you're looking for that, then what you want to do is have something very saturated and very bright in your thumbnail anyways, because that's what triggers people to click. And it's not kind of on YouTube. This is like the rule of thumb for every activation on this freaking planet. So yeah, I'm gonna have a problem with my thumb, but here's the thing. What should I do? It's a night house. It's dark in there, so I don't want to give you false promises. And but I think to give you a reason to comment, it's really important to talk about what you think of the nocturnal house. And talking of that, which kind of nocturnal animals would you love to see in the game that are obviously not yet in the game? Because when we talk about that last episode, we figured that there were not that many animals available. In fact, only 2 that we can think of the normal animals, and just a few exhibit animals that are not necessarily only nocturnal, but they favor the nighttime. Anyways, that's what we need to have. So yeah, if you have a specific animal in mind, let me know in the comments down below, because actually I'm not really an expert on it. I did do some little googling to check out what kind of animals are there, and that's also the reason why I chose the Chinese pangolin in the artwork, because honestly I only knew about the Chinese pangolin. I did really forget about the artwork, to be honest. Totally forgot about that. So yeah, I'm glad it worked out. But also, I do have to extend this house a little bit, because the artwork has a bit of a higher demand in space than I calculated initially, because I wanted to make the exhibit quite small in relation to what I usually do. Reason for that is only that I want to keep that house fairly small, because you don't really see those gigantic night houses anyways with like huge habitats. Normally you have some animals that do need a lot less space. So for example, snakes and the Gila monster, for example. Or is it kind of the Gila monster, or is it the Gila monster? I forgot. I think one of the letters here on what you think you would pronounce, you do not pronounce. So please don't hate me for the wrong pronunciation. I remember that people told me in the comments when I had that in my franchise do. By the way, little hint, our franchise do did return, and that means Verankiato is kind of a thing at the moment. Last episode we implemented some white lions, which is really exciting, because lions in a northern air environment do require a dome, and so I made that one. So for those of you who are kind of interested in the more real-time overview-ish things, they might have a good time watching that. So link is in one of the info buttons, or at the end of this episode, whenever you are likely to click. Just do it and you will have some fun over there. But anyways, let's talk about the night house. Also, I might just add that I did listen to you and made the time lapse a little bit less sped up than usually. Most of you kind of recently, like, I don't know, it wasn't a thing for quite a while, but lately it kind of people got a lot more into that. They got dizzy and get some motion sickness from the time lapse being too quick. So eventually I decided to slow it down where it's possible. Now I wanted to quickly address that. So I did rewatch some of my episodes as well, and I do have to agree that some of them are sped up a lot too much. Now here's the thing. It's kind of controversial though, because I do speed it up for a good reason. I don't want to make too many videos out of the content I produce just for the sake of making content, you know? It's not my target to really blow you with a lot of episodes just because I do play so much and, you know, record so long. So if there is like 2.5 hours of material that goes into an episode, I want to kind of make the best out of it by not giving you a too long of an episode, because time-lapse is time-lapse and it should not be so long as a real-time gameplay video. They are two different kinds of content and I don't want to mix them up, you know. So here's the reason why I try to speed it up more. And I also don't want to leave out important stuff. So it would be pretty awkward if I have too many skips in there and too many weird cuts. So I always try to give you the process. And yeah, that's kind of the natural little complication that we have. You know, either way, the video would be too long, or I have to make 2 videos out of that, or I'm just like, you know, I'm just running into the trouble that I don't know what to cut eventually, because people sometimes are interested in the building part, then they want to see how the habitat got designed, then other people want to see the planning process. So to bring that all into one video requires me to implement most of the footage actually. So that's the reason mainly why I try to speed it up, you know, to a value that kind of allows me to implement everything in the video. But I heard you. I try to improve that by making it less sped up. So please let me know in comments down below if it's better, if it's not better, because if it's not, I can always go back to my normal one. The only thing is I don't really want to go into this kind of showcase format. Main reason for that is we did this several times for Koali, and this mainly works so good because Koali has 2 different special things. Like, first of all, a commentary together with 4 people is a challenge to bring down to a time-lapse, mainly because the things are happening quite fast, and you start a topic and then 3 more people have something to add, and then the time-lapse is already like 2 minutes further and you are in a totally different environment of what you're looking at. And so it makes it a bit harder to really follow what you do. So either way, you have a very episodic kind of time-lapse approach, which potentially will be the case on the weekend in my episode, or you do the tours, because the tours have the big advantage that it's, you know, you can stay when people talk about it, you can stay at a certain area and just look at it as long as it takes to talk about that. So for the viewer, it's a lot more enjoyable because everyone can say something about that without it having the feel of a rush, you know. So it's, the more people you have involved, the more complicated it is to talk about the time lapse. You're 2 people, that's totally fine. 3 is sometimes okay, and 4 gets a lot more tricky. So that's the reason why this kind of showcase format is totally a good kind of compromise in having more people talking about it. But yeah, it's only me over here, so I can definitely focus a bit more on structuring the episode in a way that it fits to the time-lapse. It does not always work perfectly fine though, but it's a lot better. But I do want to stick to the time-lapse format, at least for my Sandbox park. So the only thing I add at the end is sometimes something like you will see today, a real-time part, mostly when the builds are too hard to show off in a cinematic approach, which unfortunately is quite often the case in zoos, I have to admit. It's not like with roller coasters where you can get some awesome shots of the station or of the first loop or of the queue or whatever you just did. It's a lot more like, you know, it's a lot more hidden, and it's a lot more about the atmosphere, which you definitely just can transport or translate better into a video by making a little walkthrough. Anyways, now let's go into it. You've seen basically the whole process of that habitat, but I will talk about this in the real-time part a little bit more. Now, this is one thing I wanted to talk about in particular. So I was researching a little bit how these night houses work and how the lighting works and what kind of stuff you have in there. And here's my first little very cool synergy from my Centro little paid job where I did the shopping mall. And while doing the shopping mall, they had kind of a little, it was not really, obviously it was not a night house, but they had a little launch area that used the same kind of orange-ish indirect lighting. And this is kind of something I really carbon copied over here by using the same little technique of these little spotlights. Because the spotlights, they create some light, but the light is very subtle. it only affects a very small area, while you still have these little light bulbs glowing, but they are not glowing as much as some of the other pieces. So it's very subtle glow, and it gets this really nice little night house appeal, as you can really nicely see over here. So it's this really subtle little orange-ish lighting that kind of gives you the vibe of having really a night house, as almost as like the stars from the sky that do get some light in, but not as much light as you can think of. But yeah, so next up was a little test if I can get this pitch dark in there. It's not working, so let's keep it short. It's definitely not working the way I wanted it to. You can do this with creating a bigger cave, but this cave needs to be too big to be realistically put into a building. Full stop. That's the main issue, and so yeah, nope, it's just not gonna happen. But that's it already about the time-lapse. Now let's jump over right into the real-time part. See you at the other end of the cut. Alright, here we are, guys, and now let's turn around to the night house. Also, one thing I wanted to address, many of you commented that I might want to rename it into Nocturnal House, and that's going to happen. You were right, that makes a lot more sense, and yeah, I will do this. Oh, I didn't really figure that is a thing here. Ooh, yeah, I'm gonna have to hide that. I can work with these things, but this is kind of glowing and shining too much. I don't really like that. So yeah, it's nighttime, obviously. The roof is floating up in the sky, mainly because I was still testing some things, but it doesn't really have too much of an effect because I do have these black roofs in there as well. Now let's just move inside the building. And as you said, I tried to move the camera a little bit slower and less than last time because you complained about motion sickness. I want to address that. There's not too much to see here anyway, so yeah, we come in here and obviously it's way too bright, and that's really an issue. Let me just see what happens if I bring down the roof. Let me just quickly do this. So let's just bring that down, so at least we do have the shade in here. I don't really know how deep I have to put that down. Let's just do it that way that we have a shadow. That's everything we need to do. Where is our friend the Gizmo? Hello, Gizmo? Where are you? Huh? Is that kind of a thing? Alright, because it's part of the building. So let me just select these and then move it down, like so. Okay, I cannot put that down if there is this thing in the way. Come on, do it like so. Boom, there we go. I definitely can fix that later. Okay, let's exit the building, back into the spectator mode. There we go. So now it's a little bit, you know, it's a little bit darker in here, but again, it's not as dark as I would wish it to be, but well, that's the thing. Okay, so if we go in, you can see this is how it looks, and oops, I didn't want to go in. This is how the Chinese pangolin habitat looks. We have this waterfall coming down, tripling down in here. You can see them walking through. They use all the environment. It's not super lush, but it's quite lush. The reason is I wanted to make it even more lush, but the problem is you take away from that traversable area, and they're just about okay with the space available, so they are a bit needy, as I would say, because like they are pretty small. They're still, compared to their body size, they are quite needy. But yeah, that's how it is, okay? But this is already the whole habitat. Let me just go in to show you. So you can see there is the separation between what will be the artwork habitat in the future, and this is then the Chinese pangolin habitat. It's looking, I think, I like it a lot, because this habitat does definitely benefit from this overall style. I wanted to leave these black walls open a little bit, so you do notice that this is kind of a man-made night house. I wanted to get this feel in, and also especially that ceiling. I love this ceiling because it kind of reminds me really of these nocturnal houses you see in zoos, and it kind of translates that very nicely in here. So if we go over, you can see that is where the people come in. I was even thinking of extending the house a little bit to have this also in the dark here, so that you don't really go outside directly, even though I like this little kind of gate thing here. I just really like that. But yeah, you're standing just here, and you can see the animal just moving around. The only thing I don't know what to do exactly is maybe I have to put a glass wall in here in between that makes them it's kind of one-sided glass, so that they're not as annoyed, but I don't know how exactly that works out, because the guest can pretty much see everything at all time. They don't care about if it's dark or not. So yeah, it's kind of a bit of a pity, but I like this habitat a lot. So let me just go out. You can see these little dudes roaming around in here. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. See? They're just all having some fun in here. It's kind of awesome, because it's the first time that I really did a night house in that kind of sense, that it really works out super well, and I really paid some attention of making it really look exactly how you would, believe it is. Now let me just see how that works. What are you going to feed? Oh, you're going to feed that one.
Nom nom.
Nom nom. I don't know. Do they come in here and get some food now, or are you going to fill in? Oh no, you just what the hell? It's like I love that you're just putting that bin into their pockets. It's like a magical little bin. It's so cool. But yeah, so that's it. There's not much more to look at, because that's basically what happened in this episode. I mean, it doesn't look like a lot, but it was. All the planning and stuff involved, it really took a while. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Now, I think on Friday there will be another Let's Play episode of Very Kyoto. And on Saturday, Koali Beach. Put it into your calendars. Will be a great episode. A lot of things I did for Koali. Also the reason why this episode is so late today. But yeah, no, stay cool, have a good time, and I talk to you in the next one. Until then, have a great time, and bye-bye. Alrighty guys, thank you for watching this video, I really do appreciate that. As always, make sure to check out also my social media channels. You can find me everywhere under @RudyRandCamel. Also, big thanks to the crew, you can see it on the left hand side right now. And as always, if you want to see more, you click that card on the top right. And if you want to stick around because you like the stuff you've just saw, whatever, you know what I mean, just click that sub button, which is to the bottom right of the screen right now. But everything else I can say is have a great time and see you next time. Bye guys.